Hey guys, what's going on? Tyrauku here, and I hope everyone is doing great. Now, today, I want to continue the little series and continue the trend and continue talking about faction wars. So, today, I want to talk more so about the best gear sets and the gear sets that you're going to be using the most of when you're going through your faction wars pushes. So, hopefully, after you see this video, you can start taking these pieces of gear, investing a little bit more into them, and kind of understand where you should be using them, why you should be using them, and why they are so important. And I can almost guarantee, unless you have champions level 60 maxed out fully, you're going to be using these gear sets, especially if you're not wanting to invest a ton of resources to get the champions fully leveled up, fully mastered, and everything like that. These pieces of gear definitely help fill that gap from a level 50 5-star champion to a level 60 fully maxed out champion. And this is exactly what I use to kind of not really cheese my way, but get through content that may have been more difficult without these specific pieces of gear. Now, the very first one I want to mention is kind of two pieces I want to mention is probably my lowest on the this scale, probably my least used, but a very good set. And I've heard a lot of people talk very highly about this set as well, and I definitely see the value in it. But for me personally, I didn't use either one of these a whole lot going through faction wars, but they are solid if your champions are getting hit a lot, the specific ones wearing this set, and that is the Frost set. So the Frost set obviously has good benefits on champions who apply Provoke. This Frost and Frostbite. Frostbite, very similar to the Frost set, except it's a 2-piece set versus a 4-piece set. 10% chance to place a freeze debuff on the attacker. So definitely a very, very good set. And if you're going through the Doom Tower, go ahead and farm the Frostbiter even more. Get a little bit more pieces for the Frostbite set. And you can really customize this, like as in you can forge specific pieces that you need to finish out maybe a Frost plus Frostbite set to get the highest chance to freeze the enemies. And the Frostbite set in general is an amazing set. You can even use it in area, well, you can literally use it anywhere. I mean, the Frostbite is a little bit easier to work in because it's only a 2-piece set. You can pair it with other things like Immortal, Speed Gear, doesn't really matter. But anywhere, dungeons, arena, you can use a Frostbite set in addition to any other set. The Frost set does have, just the regular Frost set, it does have a higher chance to place the freeze debuff on the attacker just by itself, but it's a 4-piece set. So in my opinion, the Frostbite is an excellent set. Now, the next best set, and the set that I believe is probably the most important set for all of Faction Wars, is a stun set. So if you have not started farming Fire Knight yet, which is where you get the stun set from, I highly, highly recommend to start farming Fire Knight. Now, the reason why the stun set is so incredible is because whenever you're doing faction wars, you're not doing obviously content where you can bring in good CC champions necessarily. Your options are very, very limited. So a lot of factions don't have very good crowd control champions. They may not have a provoke champion in your lineup. You may not have a champion who can do the crowd control effects that you need to survive through the waves. Well, if you put a stun set on a champion who has an AoE ability on their A1, it's amazing. But even if they have an AoE ability on their A2, their A3, or any other ability in their kit, the stun set is going to give you an 18% chance to apply that stun debuff whenever they take a turn. And if you pair the stun set with like a fast speed set, so 4-piece stun set, 2-piece speed set, get your champions going more frequently, it's really, really going to help you actually survive through the waves. Now, even if your champion only does have a single hit ability, you're still going to get some benefit from the stun set. Obviously, you get the most benefit if you have AoE abilities, but in general, the stun set is probably a set that you're going to be using more than any other set when it comes to these specialty sets throughout the faction wars, and it's absolutely incredible. Helped me out so many times and saved me more times than I can count, just because those stuns are huge. The enemies skip a turn, they don't wake up when you hit them, unlike sleep set, and a very, very, very solid set. Now, next is the Relentless set. Now, I talked about the Relentless set in some previous videos, so obviously, unlike the stun set, where you can farm the stun set in the Fire Knight, you can't farm the Relentless set. But I'm going to venture and say that most people have a pretty solid stockpile of Relentless Gear. So you get a lot of Relentless Gear, especially as you're starting to come up in the game. You're starting to win more of the tournaments because you're matched against easier players, and once you start building up a decent stockpile of Relentless Gear, you start getting pretty solid rolls. Like we have a 14% crit rate, some good speed on some of these pieces, and your Relentless sets for most players, it seems, are pretty solid. Relentless, as I mentioned in some previous videos, with my commander specifically, Relentless is incredible when it's placed onto a support type champion. So I also mentioned Doom Priest being in a Relentless set. So with Doom Priest, I have it at 199 speed. And the reason why Relentless is so good, at least in my opinion, is because while it may be RNG, it's definitely actually RNG, 18% chance to get an extra turn. And you may be thinking, hey, well, why don't I just stack more speed? Well, you could stack more speed if your Relentless set is so bad that stacking more speed would give you possibly like 100 more speed. Yeah, definitely go ahead and stack more speed. But if you can get a Relentless set and stack quite a bit of speed, like for these champions, I like to have 200 plus speed, depending on who the champion is and such. But I like to push them pretty high on the speed. So then they're going more frequently anyways, but then they have the chance to proc those extra turns. And on a champion like Doom Priest, where she does a heal all allies by 7.5% of their max HP at the start of each of her turns, the Relentless set obviously is going to stack on top of each other, boom, 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 and you're going to get a ton of extra healing just from those Relentless procs once they start going off. And champions like Commander, who is absolutely vital in my push through Bannerlord's Faction Wars, it was huge for her. Having those Relentless procs going off and lowering the cooldown on her heal, where once she fully healed somebody, it would boost their turn meter completely. This was very, very, very helpful. Now, the next set I want to talk about is actually going to pair and combine with the Relentless set very, very well, and that is Immortal Gear. So similar to Relentless in a way that you're not able to really farm it, but you do get a decent flow of it. And Immortal Gear, as well as Cruel Gear, is going to most likely be the better gear you have in your account, depending on where you're at for a little while. I mean, the Immortal Gear drops from the clan boss. So most of the time, if you're doing a higher level clan boss, you're getting high star and high rarity Immortal Gear. So you're really able to pick and choose, hey, are these good substats, so on and so forth. I've seen some accounts with some very, very good Immortal Gear. My account has decent Immortal Gear, but this gear is incredible. So a lot of factions highly, highly lack support champions. So if your faction doesn't have support champions, obviously your options are Regeneration, which is a 4-piece set. It is good. It's very good. It's from Fire Knight. You can farm it. You're going to get a decent amount, but it's 4 pieces of gear and it's sometimes difficult to actually make that fit. Your other option is Immortal Gear, which is a 15% HP boost, which is very good in itself, plus a heal by 3% every turn, which this is very good. Obviously, if you're gonna wear this, you do want to make sure your champions are going fast, because if your champion's going very slow, then you're not going to get very much heals. Or if your champion doesn't have very much HP, you're also not going to get very much heals. In my opinion, a great way to make this set work even better is to take a champion who is in Relentless Gear. For example, my Avir Alchmage, I believe I used him in this set. I used a Relentless set, and then I believe I also had an Immortal set on him. Though I don't know why this chest plate's on him right now, but I'm pretty sure I had an Immortal set as well as a Relentless set, because he is a champion who very highly benefits from HP. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 15% and heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP. So having him in Relentless Gear allows him to have the chance to take extra turns, lower the cooldown essentially on that A3 ability, which is great support for Dwarf Faction Wars, and you're going to see that in the Dwarf Faction War video that I release soon. But also having that Immortal Gear on him boosted his HP more and would give him a heal each turn. So since he already had good HP and I need to boost his HP up anyways, having a Relentless plus Immortal was very, very helpful on him. And like I was saying, just there's so many factions that lack support and lack healing champions that throwing Immortal pieces of gear, mortal sets on your champions wherever possible is a very big help, especially whenever you pair it with things like Relentless, where you can get more turns and more heals. Now, speaking of heals and survivability, one last set I want to mention, and this set is very, very popular, and that is Lifesteal. Now, I do believe that Lifesteal set is a little bit overrated sometimes, but it is incredible for faction wars. However, you do have to keep in mind the lifesteal set is not a saving grace from absolutely all damage or going to protect your champions forever and always keep them alive. Remember, lifesteal, we go to the lifesteal set right up here, it heals by 30% of the damage dealt. So sometimes you need to weigh a few things into consideration, okay? First off, it is amazing if you have War Master on your champions, okay? So if you have a champion, and Rockbreaker was a specific dwarf for me, who I used Lifesteal on, and I did have, which he's broken apart now, which I'll be fixing him up soon, but he had War Master, okay? So whenever the War Master ability goes off, you do get the healing from that damage, which, if you're fighting a boss, is a lot of damage. However, if you're just fighting waves, so say I had Lifesteal Gear on my commander. Obviously, it's going to heal her based on the damage she deals, and it will help her stay alive better than if she had no Lifesteal Gear on. But when it comes to a champion who doesn't really do that much damage, having Lifesteal Gear on them isn't really giving you that much of a benefit. And in my opinion, it's a much better option to stack a lot more speed, stack a lot more survivability stats, go back to that Immortal type gear, something like that, versus putting Lifesteal Gear on a champion. And I've seen a lot of people do this. They'll put Lifesteal Gear on champions who don't really do damage, thinking that the lifesteal is still going to keep them alive, still going to help them progress, when in reality, lifesteal gear should be going on your champions who you need to survive, and they have War Master on boss stages specifically, or champions who do a lot of damage and can get the full benefit from lifesteal gear. For example, I believe my Ragnar actually had lifesteal gear as well, which he does cast Leech ability, but if he misses this ability, that lifesteal gear helped him out tremendously when it comes to actually surviving through the waves. So keep that in mind. If you're doing lifesteal gear, don't necessarily put it on your support champions thinking that it's going to help them survive longer. In some situations it may, but you may want to look at the Relentless plus Immortal Gear or something like that, or triple speed sets, something along those lines to actually keep your support champions alive. And in my opinion, it's going to help you out a lot more in the long run than throwing lifesteal gear on champions who just frankly don't do very much damage at all and are really not going to get much benefit from the lifesteal set. Heck, even some damage dealers don't do enough damage to get a sizable heal from that 30% of the damage dealt heal to their HP. I mean, it's decent, but you really want to make sure the champion you put it on is going to get the maximum benefit from it. And like I said, I'll be going over Dwarf Faction War soon. The video may already be out by the time you're watching this, but you're really going to be able to see hopefully a few uses of these exact sets that I mentioned and how I made them work to actually help me clear Dwarf Faction Wars Stage 21 without any strictly support champion other than a Veer Alchmage, whose support is mediocre at best, in my opinion. So guys, I hope this video helps you out. Hopefully you can see some of these sets that you can invest in, start building up to get ready for your Faction War teams. Thank you all very much for watching. Definitely don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Which of these sets are your favorite? Thank you again for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.